Hello. Thank you so much, Rifa. So I'm going to talk a little bit this evening about hearing and trusting our inner voice, why that matters, how it connects to passion and purpose, which are the overarching themes of the evening, and how it can help us connect and live more meaningful lives, why that matters. So the first thing I'd like to do, if that's all right with you, is just do an exercise. So I just invite you to turn to the person next to you and just introduce yourself and ask them how they are. So hello, how are you, to the person next to you. Thank you. I was supposed to have beautiful mindfulness bells, which my lovely friend Una here was supposed to bring for me, but I forgot, so it's a knife and a glass. So the next part of the exercise, if you are happy to just join in, is to put bags, coats, things that are on your lap under your seats, and just clear a bit of space for yourself. Put your feet firmly down on the floor in front of you. Sit up straight in your chair, drop your shoulders back, and just arrive here on your seat in the room. Leave all the how you got here, the rush, the getting out of the office, to sending that last email, leave that behind. Leave the where are we going to go to afterwards, when do I get my first glass of wine, leave that behind, and just arrive here in the room on your chair. If you feel comfortable to do so, maybe pop your hand down on your belly. And then if you are happy, I'm just going to ask you to, if you feel comfortable to close your eyes, do so, but if you don't, it doesn't matter. And we're just going to take a number of mindful breaths together. And we're going to ask ourselves that question, how am I? How am I really this evening? What's going on for me? How do I feel? So take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Asking yourself, how am I? How am I this evening? Breathe in, breathe out. Once more, in and out. Thank you. Now, if you wouldn't mind, just turning back to the person that you had a conversation with before and asking them how they really are, what's really going on for them this evening. And just take a moment to have that conversation. Great, thank you. So I wonder, did anybody have a very different response to how they had first of all? Did anybody have anything that sort of felt quite different?
I think you gave us permission to go a bit deeper, and that's one thing, but also just getting more in touch with how I feel. So the permission plus getting in touch made it more connecting.
Beautiful, thank you. And it was really lovely to see and feel that energy in the room. So I really want to thank Rifa for giving us a platform this evening to spend time together thinking about purpose and passion and what that means for us in our lives and in our work. It's beautiful that you give us that gift, so thank you so much. And we're going to hear later from Anna and Alison, two women who've really managed to bring their purpose very much into their work. I'm interested in the sort of notion of purpose. It's a really live discussion at the moment. There's so many people talking about it. We're all so encouraged to be very clear what our individual purpose is. Why do you exist? What is your purpose? Collectively, when we come together, what is our purpose here this evening? What are we supposed to be doing? Organisationally, when we're running businesses, we need to be really clear, why do we exist and what is our purpose? That's the work that we do at NEO. We work with organisations that have social and environmental purposes right at their core, and we help them really find what it is that matters about them, and then we make it matter more, amplify their story through creativity and storytelling. But purpose can feel a little bit impenetrable sometimes. That question, what is your purpose, can sometimes feel a little bit obscure and difficult to get hold of. So I was at an event a few weeks ago, and this kind of leading thinker in this space asked, what is the problem in the world that your life exists to solve? What is the problem in the world that your life exists to solve? Now, bloody hell, I don't know if anybody's got an answer to that question. I certainly haven't. I'm very interested in exploring the question, but I've got no idea, really, what that is. So I was aware of kind of how sort of highfalutin the purpose thing can be, and I wondered about taking it a step back. What are the things that maybe have helped me get a little bit of a handle on purpose and what it is, what matters to me, and what makes me feel like I'm living a slightly more authentic, truthful life? And that's very much about hearing, not only hearing, but trusting my inner voice. I think there's a direct relationship between hearing your inner voice and living a more purposeful, meaningful life. So I was then kind of prompted to think about the first time that I had heard my inner voice, when I'd become to realise that there was something inside me, some sort of other voice inside me. And I was taken back to a time in my early 20s when we were on a family holiday in the south of France. My sisters, my then boyfriend of the time, lovely boy, good family, good prospects, and we were walking along to dinner, and my mother turned to us and said, I imagine that you both will be thinking about getting married. Just to let you know that if you wanted to do that next summer, your father and I have made provision for that to happen. We were in our early 20s. We hadn't thought what was going to happen next weekend, let alone we'd never considered getting married. But at that moment, it became something that existed out in the external. It became an expectation. Cut to a year later, there's a massive marquee on the lawn in my parents' garden. There's birds of paradise flowers being flown in from Thailand. We decided on an Asian theme. For the life of me, I can't remember why. But we had silk-screened, bamboo parchment invitations to 250 people. My bridesmaids were in beautiful blue silk mandarin dresses. I had something made out of some Japanese paper silk thing. Everything was set up for this incredible celebration. And the morning of the wedding, everyone goes off to the church, huge hubbub of excitement. And then it's my dad and I. He's got a jaunty new blazer on. He loves a new blazer for a family occasion, my dad. And we get in the car and we drive down to the wedding. And the streets that we're driving down, were very familiar to me, suddenly took on quite a different quality. They felt slightly one-dimensional, like they were I was in a movie set or something. We pulled up outside the church, got out of the car. My lovely dad's fixing my veil, and everything just absolutely became completely silent and still. And this incredibly loud voice inside of me said, make it stop. You have to make it stop. And that's the first time that I really heard the voice inside of me. The thing that Howard Thurman so beautifully talks about as the sound of the genuine in yourself. This piece that I come back to time and time again. There is something in every one of you that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine in yourself. It is the only true guide you will ever have, and if you cannot hear it, you will spend your days on the ends of strings that somebody else pulls. Strings that somebody else pulls. I'm sure that we can all think about how that feels for us. That external, the stuff that's happening in external, the stories that we're caught up in, how we feel about what's happening to us. Are we up for that job promotion? Have we got that pay rise? Are we leading the right kind of client team? Are we being put on the right good pitch team with the real cool people in the agency? And the expectations that we put on ourselves, how are we comparing? How are we stacking up? Are we living the lives, that these other cool people that we look up to and admire are living? And that kind of awful feeling of what's out there versus what I'm talking about, which is something that sits very much in here. It's very different. The understanding that we are not our thoughts. Our thoughts are not us. They are not facts. And actually, the practice of actually getting some distance from our thoughts, having a slightly more reflective relationship with our thoughts, how useful that can be. That is not to say that other people's opinions don't matter. absolutely, there are people sitting right here in this room. Their opinions matter enormously to me. But they are the people who have helped me move closer to my inner voice, heard it more. The people that ask the questions, how does that feel for you? What's your response to that? Does that feel right for you? They're not the people that tell you what they expect you to be or what you should be. And it's very different. And I'm sure all of you, if you can think now, have got those people in your life too, the people that guide you to connect more to your inner voice. So, in my 30s, I did manage to make some pretty good changes in my personal life and develop a little bit more of a kind of reflective, open, compassionate approach to living my life. I found yoga, which saved me. Periods of meditation, learning different meditation techniques, absolutely. Reevaluated a lot of those friendships, the ones where you go, what is this? What am I getting out of this? Does this really matter to me? Am I bringing out the best in this person? Is this person bringing out the best in me? And also just asking the question, what am I spending my time doing? Am I spending my time doing the things which make me feel alive, which give me energy? Or am I waking up yet again on a Sunday morning wearing a sequin boob tube, having had fabulous conversations with people that I will never meet again? You know, what am I doing with my time? So I was able to make those changes in my personal life, but my work life still felt really different. I came through very traditional kind of branding creative agencies, very competitive, cutthroat agencies, which had that real success or failure. If you didn't measure up, you were out. And that kind of fear-based structures, of, ways of running organisations. And so I came into this leadership role in NEO, still very much carrying that way of running a business. I remember saying to a friend of mine when I got the job, failure is just not an option. I have to make this shit work. I have to get these people, I have to pull them up by their bootstraps, we have to just sort this shit out. And it was really tense. There was so much expectation on myself, so much expectation on the people around me. It was really uncomfortable, and it was really incongruent with the changes that I'd made in my personal life. I still had this real distinction between those two ways of being. And so I'd heard that other leaders of businesses that I respect and admire, who are here this evening, had this thing called a coach. Wow, what was that? What was that going to do? Is that something that could help me in this sort of desire to lead from a sort of more authentic, more truthful place? So I set out on the journey of finding a coach. I'd had 5 or 6 different meetings, and I was really losing any sense of hope. I'd had so many meetings with people that just didn't make sense for me. One of them had set the cafe where she would like us to meet, and then couldn't find the cafe herself, and after 4 phone conversations was so irate and cross that she was so lost and I wasn't giving her the right directions to the cafe. When we got there, I spent 15 minutes coaching her. So at least I was getting a bit clearer on actually what coaching was all about. Then, through just a very chance introduction, I met a man called Jeff, who made perfect sense for me, and we started working together. And the first thing we did was ask Jeff to go and have some conversations with the people in my business who I work very closely with on a daily basis, and for him to hold a space for confidential conversations to happen where the people could say, what is it about my leadership style that works, what's useful, and what isn't? What needs to be developed? Where are the possibilities for things to get better? And we started there, and we started with a really clear brief of wanting to bring these 2 sides of my life more closely together, to find a way of leading a business which felt more truthful for me. So one of the real things that I took from that, and still continue to take from that, is dropping that fear-based way of running organisations. We know how that feels when we're scared, when we're afraid, when we've got that sense of having to live up to other people's expectations. Creativity closes down, relationships close down, trust closes down. And the opposite of that, the flip side of that, is feeling okay about bringing love into the way we run our organisations. The relationships that we have, the clients that we have, the people that we work with, There's no difference in those relationships between the ones that we have in our personal lives. We spend so much time with these people. There's possibilities for these to be enormously rich, rewarding, honest and truthful relationships. And so we started there. I have a real sense now that my purpose is completely different. My purpose now at NEO is to hold a space and encourage people to connect to their inner voice, to really hear what matters for them, and for us to make decisions as an organisation from that point. Does this piece of work excite us? Do the lights come on for us? Do we feel energy? Do we feel drawn to this piece of work? Do these clients that we have, how does this feel for us? Do they feel like the right people for us to be working with? And we encourage each other to come to that place of feel much more than think to make decisions. We've brought in practices. We do meditation together, we do active listening together, we do appreciative feedback together, and we've really invested in how that works for us. It's not better or worse, it's just different. It's a different way of organising and running a company, and it really helps us. We feel so much more connected to the work we're doing, to the clients that we have, to ourselves, to each other, and it means that it's more purposeful. We're leading more purposeful lives. So it's 20 years since I stood at the doors of the church, and I went in and I saw my nearest and dearest sitting in the congregation and the other 200 people that my mother had invited. And I walked down that aisle feeling that the day had very little to do with me. Do I regret getting married? Absolutely not. It was one of the most important experiences, in terms of learnings and what I've learned about myself. Do I imagine that I would ignore my inner voice to that extent again? I really hope not. But what I hope is that this ongoing inquiry every day into what matters to me, what makes me feel happy, will avoid that happening again. It's about the question that you ask yourself. So for me, that is, when do I feel alive? When do the lights come on for me? But for all of you, that question will be different. You just need to know the question and ask yourself it. So I just would encourage you to spend some time over the next couple of days really being clear on what that question is. Because living a happier, more healthy, more honest, more authentic life, that's not a selfish pursuit. That's not self-indulgent. That is the greatest gift that you can give yourselves, that you can give the people around you, that you work with, that you live your lives with. And my daughter's sitting there in the audience tonight. That's the thing that we can teach the next generation coming up who are looking for what is the thing that's going to matter for them. So I'm just going to leave with a quote from a writer, and I think mythologist, you might call him, Joseph Campbell, which is called "Follow Your Bliss." If you do follow your bliss, you put yourself on a kind of track that has been there all the while, waiting for you. And the life you ought to be living is the one that you are living. And when you can see that, you begin to meet people who are in the field of your bliss, and they open doors to you. I say follow your bliss, don't be afraid, and doors will open where you didn't know they were going to be. If you follow your bliss, doors will open for you that wouldn't have opened for anyone else. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you this evening.